Hey everyone, and welcome back to Tech Talk Central.
Great to be here.
Today, we're doing a deep dive comparison for you. We're looking at two gaming monitors, often mentioned when people ask about the best G-Sync compatible options.
That's right. We've got the Samsung Odyssey G50D squaring off against the ASUS TUF Gaming VG279Q L3A.
And we've pulled info straight from their Amazon pages, specs,
Yeah.
pricing, even what actual users are saying.
Yep, got all the key details. Our mission today is really to unpack these two, see where they shine, and, help you figure out which one might be the better fit for your setup.
Sounds good. So let's kick things off with the Samsung, the Odyssey G50D.
Okay, so the Samsung G50D, on Amazon right now, the new model is listed around $240.10.
$240, okay.
Yeah, and there are used ones too, starting lower, maybe $218-ish. But the list price, it's noted as almost $350.
So quite a drop from the list price currently. That's good to see.
Definitely. Now, spec-wise, it's a 27-inch panel.
Standard size these days.
Pretty much. And it's QHD resolution, so 2560 by 1440 pixels, uses a fast IPS panel.
Okay, IPS usually means good colors. Right. And fast for gaming.
Exactly. Good viewing angles, good color, and yeah, the fast generally implies better response times. It's a 16.9 aspect ratio. One interesting point here is the screen surface is listed as glossy.
Glossy. That can be tricky with reflections depending on your room.
It can be, yeah. Though we'll come back to that based on some user feedback later.
All right. What about the speed? Refresh rate, response time.
It's fast. 180 hertz refresh rate.
Nice and smooth.
Very smooth. And a 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response time. So really quick pixel transitions, aiming to cut down motion blur.
And HDR. I see that mentioned a lot.
Yep, it supports VISA Display HDR 400. That's kind of the entry point for HDR certification. So better contrast and brightness range than a standard monitor, but maybe not a, super dramatic HDR effect.
Gotcha. And crucially for this comparison, adaptive sync.
It has AMD FreeSync, and yes, it is G-Sync compatible.
So it works smoothly with both NVIDIA and AMD cards for variable refresh rate.
Correct. That VRR helps eliminate screen tearing and stutter. Big plus for gaming.
Absolutely. What about comfort? Ergonomics?
It comes with a decent stand. You get swivel, tilt, and height adjustments. Pretty flexible.
Good, good. Long sessions need that adjustability.
And it also has an eye saver mode.
Yeah.
That reduces blue light and flicker, supposed to help with eye strain.
Always appreciate features like that. Connectivity. What do we plug it into?
Standard stuff, really. HDMI and DisplayPort.
Okay. Do they give you the cables?
Yes, it comes with a power cord and, importantly, a DP cord. DisplayPort is usually what you need for the high refresh rates and G-Sync.
Right. Saves you buying one separately. Okay, so that's the rundown on paper. What are people who actually bought it saying? Customer feedback.
Generally positive. Picture quality gets praised a lot. One person even mentioned it makes spreadsheets and code look great, so text clarity seems good.
Oh, interesting. Not just for gaming, then.
Seems so. Vivid colors, good contrast are common comments too. And gamers confirm, yeah, it works well. Fast response, smooth gameplay.
Any specific callouts?
Someone with the 32-inch version mentioned it felt really immersive, which makes sense with the larger size. And quite a few people felt it was good value, especially if caught on sale.
Like the current price, maybe.
Exactly. But not all perfect. Some users found the default calibration needed tweaking.
That's pretty common, isn't it?
Yeah.
Factory settings aren't always ideal.
True. You might need to play with the settings to get it just right. And there are a couple of potential issues mentioned.
What?
One reviewer had trouble getting it to power on initially and said the power light didn't work. Sounds like maybe a faulty unit.
Hopefully an isolated case.
Possibly. And then there's that screen finish thing. The listing says glossy.
Yeah.
But one user specifically said after they peeled off the protective film, which was glossy, the screen underneath was actually matte.
Wait, really? Glossy film, matte screen. That's confusing.
It is. So the actual finish might be matte, which many prefer, despite the glossy listing. Something to keep in mind.
Definitely. Okay, let's switch gears. Our second contender, the ASUS TUF Gaming VG279QL3A.
Right. The ASUS, price-wise, this one's quite a bit lower currently, around $178 for a new one on Amazon.
Whoa, okay. That's a significant difference from the Samsung's current price.
Yeah. Used options start around $162. And the list price is $209, so it's closer to its list price, but still very affordable.
So nearly $60 cheaper than the Samsung right now.
Yeah.
What do you get for that lower price? Specs.
Still a 27-inch monitor, also fast IPS, also 16.9, but the big difference here is the resolution. It's full HD.
1920 by 1080.
Correct. So not as sharp as the QHD on the Samsung. And this one has a confirmed matte screen surface.
Matte, okay. Good for reducing glare. How about refresh rate and response time? Does it keep up?
It does. Same 180 Hz refresh rate, same 1 gray-to-gray response time.
Impressive for the price point.
It is. And ASUS adds their extreme low motion blur tech, ELMB.
Right, the backlight strobing thing.
Exactly. It can make motion look even clearer, but there's usually a catch. You typically can't use ELMB and adaptive sync, like G-Sync compatibility, at the same time. It's one or the other.
Okay. The choice to make there. What about its adaptive sync?
It's got FreeSync Premium, and it is also G-Sync compatible. VRR is enabled by default.
FreeSync Premium. That adds LSC, right? Low frame rate compensation.
Usually, yes. Helps keep things smooth even if the frame rate dips low, so solid adaptive sync support here too.
Any other standout features on the ASUS?
It has something called Shadow Boost that brightens dark areas in games without washing out the bright spots. Could give you an edge seeing enemies in shadows.
Tactical advantage, maybe?
Possibly.
Yeah.
And this one does have built-in speakers.
Oh, okay. The Samsung didn't explicitly mention those. That's handy sometimes.
Yeah, maybe not amazing sound, but useful if you don't have dedicated speakers or headphones handy.
Yeah.
It also has an ergonomic stand with height adjustment. Not sure about swivel or tilt from the main description.
Gotcha. Connectivity for the ASUS.
One DisplayPort 1.4, which is good, and 2 HDMI 2.0 ports.
Plenty of puts, cables included.
Comes with an HDMI cable and the power cord. No DisplayPort cable listed, interestingly.
So you might need to buy a DP cable separately for G-Sync at 180 Hz.
Potentially, yeah. Worth checking the box contents carefully.
Okay. So user feedback on the ASUS. How's it holding up in the real world?
Generally pretty positive again. People say it's excellent for both gaming and work, despite the lower resolution.
Even for work at 1080p on 27 inches. Some find that less sharp.
Some might, but many users called the picture quality crisp and loved the buttery smooth refresh rate. Functionality and build quality also get good mentions. A few called it a great plug-and-play starter monitor.
Easy setup is always nice. Any recurring themes in the feedback, like the calibration on the Samsung?
Yes, similar theme but slightly different focus. Mixed reviews on color and brightness. Some thought it was superb out of the box.
And others?
Others felt it needed adjustment, or specifically that the brightness was way too high by default. So again, expect you might need to dive into the OSD settings.
Right. Seems like calibrating is just part of getting a new monitor sometimes.
Pretty much standard procedure if you want the absolute best image.
Okay, so we've got a good picture of both monitors now. Let's really break down the key differences, head to head.
Absolutely. The biggest one, without a doubt, is resolution. QHD 1440p on the Samsung versus Full HD 1080p on the ASUS.
On a 27-inch screen, that 1440p will look noticeably sharper.
Yeah. Sure, image, more detail, better text clarity on the Samsung, but
it needs more GPU power to run games smoothly at that resolution.
Exactly. Running 1440p at high frame rates demands more from your graphics card than 1080p.
Which ties into the second big difference, price.
Yep. The ASUS is significantly cheaper, making it much more budget-friendly up front.
Then there's the screen surface. Samsung listed as glossy, but maybe matte. ASUS is definitely matte.
Right. The ASUS is safer if you're worried about glare. The Samsung is a bit of a question mark there based on that one review.
HDR seems similar. Both mentioned display HDR 400.
Pretty much a wash there. Entry-level HDR on both. The ASUS does mention 125% RGB color gamut, which is a nice specific detail about its color range.
Okay, and extra features.
The ASUS has those built-in speakers, which the Samsung seems to lack. And the ASUS has ELMB, that extra motion blur reduction tech, though you trade off adaptive sync to use it.
So, weighing those differences, who is each monitor really for? Let's try and crystallize that for someone listening.
Okay. If your top priority is image sharpness and detail, maybe for both gaming and productivity, and you have a graphics card that can push QHD resolutions well.
And you don't mind maybe tweaking settings.
Right. Then the Samsung Odyssey G50D looks like a really strong choice, especially at its current sale price.
But if your budget is tighter, or maybe your GPU is more suited to 1080p gaming, and you still want that high 180 Hz refresh rate and G-Sync compatibility, plus maybe you like the idea of built-in speakers or trying out ELMB.
Then the ASUS TUF Gaming VG279QL3A is, well, a very compelling option. You save cash, still get smooth gameplay.
It really forces you to think about what matters most, doesn't it? The resolution jump Or the price difference and those extras, like speakers on the Asus.
Precisely. Is the visual upgrade to QHD worth the extra cost and GPU demand for your specific use case? Or does the Asus hit that sweet spot of performance and value at 1080p? And don't forget the screen finish preference matte versus potentially glossy or maybe matte on the Samsung.
Okay, let's wrap this deep dive up then. It seems both the Samsung Odyssey G50D and the ASUS TUF Gaming VG279QL3A are, really capable monitors if you're looking for G-Sync compatibility at 180 Hz.
Yes, definitely. They just target slightly different priorities and budgets. Samsung leans towards higher visual fidelity, Asus leans towards value and some specific features like speakers and eMMB.
Your choice really boils down to that core trade-off. Resolution versus price and those specific feature sets.
It does, which leads to, I think, the main question you should be asking yourself. What is your absolute #1 priority? Is it getting the sharpest possible picture with QHD? Is it hitting that high refresh rate at the lowest possible price? Or are features like built-in speakers or eLMB really important for your setup?
Thinking through that, really nailing down your priority, will point you towards the right monitor here.
Couldn't agree more. And of course, prices change. Deals pop up.
Good point. So to find the latest prices and maybe snag one of these on sale, definitely check out the links we've put in the description below.
And hey, if this comparison helped you out, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel, Tech Talk Central, for more tech deep dives just like this one.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone.